Welcome back to Kentucky Hempworks Gaming. I'm Katie, and I have a special guest with me today. I have Charlie Beshears. Charlie and I have become friends over the last several years. He's the magistrate for Dawson Springs. He represents Dawson. And so he's running for office right now and agreed to come and hang out with me while I play video games. It's pretty boring playing video games by yourself, and when we were kids, Charlie, we used to sit on the couch like this and play video games like all day long. It was really fun. So I appreciate you helping me out here. Charlie, why don't you just introduce yourself? You know, are you from Dawson? Or are you from here originally?
Well, thank you for inviting me to this. I was actually born in Baltimore, Maryland, but my parents, or my dad was in the military, and he met my mom while he was in Baltimore. We stayed there about 9 years and come back about every 5 or 6 times a year. And then one day he said, we got to get out of here, and he brought us back home. So at the age of 9, I moved back with the promise that I'd get a pony. And Daddy fulfilled that promise. And for years and years after that, I may have gone through 10 or 15 horses a year, because I was looking for the right show horse.
So you did show horses here?
American Saddlebred, which
cool.
is the state horse.
Really? So you had a little land and a little farm?
Yeah, I showed probably for 30 years or so, and then my daughter showed in Leland. Went to college at Murray. My degree was in social work and psychology. I'd worked on my master's in guidance and counseling. My first job out was at the employment office, which gave me a lot of opportunities as far as workforce development. I was the employer representative at the time, and I would go into all the factories and I would get job listings that I'd bring back to the office, and we would classify them, and then we would refer people out on those jobs. So I got to see the inside of a lot of factories. Didn't do that job real long, because in 1976, Governor Julian Carroll outlawed bail bondsmen, and they set up the agency in the administrative office of the courts, pretrial services. My job then was a neutral fact finder for the judges. I had to interview everyone that was arrested within 12 hours. I had to call the judge, get bail set. I did record checks, verified information, talked to family, figured out what their resources were, and ultimately decided whether they were a risk to the community or not before they were released. Did that for 28 years. There's not many people can say that they did the same job for 28 years. I retired from there, being Mr. Mom for about 5 or 6 years, and took care of my mom and dad till they passed. I decided that I knew so much about county government, since I had worked in and out of every office in the courthouse, that I would be a perfect candidate for magistrate.
So, magistrate, can you explain what's the difference between a magistrate on the fiscal court and like a city council?
Magistrate is responsible for all the financial dealings in the county, where the city council just does with city.
All right, well, my laptop died. What were we talking about? I'll still cut and paste wherever I want to, wherever it fits the best. So
Probably the only thing I think we may have left out was, while my district is largely in Dawson Springs and out in the county, I believe that if you call from Slaughters or if you call from Dixon, I'm going to do the best that I can do for you, and as much as I would do for the people in Dawson, in and around Dawson Springs. You got to remember, I worked my whole life in Madisonville. I had as many contacts in Madisonville as I did in Dawson Springs.
So is it kind of like that with magistrate? You just get phone calls all the time, like all week long?
It's not so bad. I think one of the things that I regret a lot is that people don't call enough. On a hot topic issue, I might have 5 people call for and 5 people against, and you don't ever hear from anyone in between. So I would advise everybody to stay in touch with your elected officials, ask the questions you need, trust but verify. And I spend my whole life trusting but then verifying for a day or two to make sure I get the right right information.
So you said that you represent the Dawson Springs area in your district, but when you sit on the fiscal court, that court oversees the entire county. Where does your district stretch? Is it just Dawson? Or?
But all the magisterial districts have to be within 5% of each other, below or above. So there's a 10% difference. All of the districts are like a triangle or a spoke in the wheel. They all go to the courthouse in Madisonville. I have, part of my district comes out on Center Street.
So you represent Dawson, a little bit of Madisonville, and kind of the space in between there?
St. Charles, Rabbit Ridge to Silent Run Church.
Mm-hmm. Well, so what does the fiscal court actually govern? The city obviously governs like the city programs. What does a county fiscal court or county government govern?
We have to deal with the budget. Sheriff and the county clerk are having a humane society and ambulance service. We're responsible for the jail and all of its fees. It falls under the county's budget. Planning and zoning, economic development. We have several taxing districts like the health department, conservation district, that I don't know that we manage because they have their own boards that manage them.
Yeah.
But we do get to put people, what we think are the right people on those boards.
And all of those agencies are just doing they have management. You're funding them through the county taxes, is that right? You're not like running the animal shelter.
We're not running it, but because we give, in this case, the ambulance service, we gave about $500,000 this year because of the Medicaid cuts. I am on the ambulance board, and we're trying to get them a little more stabilized. We're trying to, and we have already, and the revenue is up a little, but Medicare, the great big beautiful bill, has cut their payments down to about 43% of what they did last year. So they're struggling to provide the services that we need, and the county has come in and they've helped them out. We're trying to come up with organizing it so that they would be able to apply for some more state and federal grants. We helped South Hopkins Water District just recently. We had given them $2 million for this $32 million water project, which was a matching cost, I'm assuming. They came back in, got ready to start it, and because of the war and the economy, their estimate went up an extra $1.8 million, and we were able to help them out with that.
Because of inflation and the costs of everything nowadays?
The transportation. Tariffs.
Have you heard, a lot of these shipping companies are struggling these days. I've heard shipping companies are in a phase now where they're getting bought up by bigger companies because they can't keep up with the expenses. Shipping is always the biggest thing. Those gas prices affect everything down the line, even the cost of milk. People don't think about that. Now, I usually like to mention what causes those prices to increase. This morning I checked the national debt clock, and we are at $39 trillion in national debt. So we're at the point now where we're really, really close to 40 trillion. A lot of people don't realize that inflation and prices going up is caused by the amount of money in the money supply. It seems kind of nerdy to keep an eye on the national debt, but I'm just kind of watching my dollars die in my pocket. They're in my pocket and they're dying because we're spending so much money trying to fund these war machines. But anyway, you don't have those kinds of issues on the county level, obviously, but it affects everybody on the county level.
It does affect us on the county level, and I've been on the bench now for 16 years. We have not increased taxes in that 16 years, which meant we've had to cut services in other areas, whether it be personnel, whether it be equipment, and stretch our dollars as far as we could. Mm-hmm. And I think we've done a really good job with that. Is there more that we could do? Probably.
Well, there's always more that governments could do, but should they do it? That's really the question. Could it be done better if it was left to the people to do?
But just think about, we've not raised taxes in 16 years. Think of how much every utility, insurance bill, gas bill, electric bill, everything has gone up in that 16 years. And we've managed to keep the budget pretty much the same, or the tax rate the same.
So speaking of taxes though, do you control the tax rate for property tax?
We have to set that every year.
And you're getting ready to do that, I know, because we talked about this already.
We already have had a first reading on a tax cut for this year. That'd be 0.5% on real estate, 2% on tangible property. It's not final until court Tuesday, because we have to have a second reading.
So you know it's going to pass, but it's got to go through the process of one more reading before it officially passes.
I expect that it will pass. Anything can happen.
Nobody
That's
wants to raise taxes, right?
Right. But we also have to provide services. But we've looked at it in the budget. We could make it work. So I don't expect that there's going to be a problem.
Charlie, the last time I recorded an episode, I died to this boss. He is the evil wizard Agahnim, and he abducted like 8 maidens, and he's trying to take over the world using this like supreme spiritual power. I just beat it on the first try because you're here. You're like my good luck charm.
I distracted you.
Yeah. I just ran on instinct, right? So we talked about like kind of some of the functions of fiscal court, and I think everybody gets it. Like, then you have other organizations on the county level, like PVA and jail and sheriff, and those are all separate functions. But you all kind of, there's touch points there.
We all have to work together.
You have
that's
to work
right.
together. Well, speaking of working together, you're a Democrat, and I mean it's like we live in Republican, like Central here. I mean we're a very conservative Western Kentucky community. This whole area. All of Western Kentucky is like pretty conservative in general. I see you as like pretty conservative compared to most of the people that I see on the news. How do you work with people that are in other parties?
I personally don't see parties. By being in the court system for 28 years, it doesn't matter whether you're Democrat or Republican. What matters to me is that you get off the couch and vote. The system, I believe the system works if everybody votes. I believe in the checks and balances of having Democrats and Republicans and other parties. And we can all work together. We've got the same goals. We've got more in common than we disagree on. But we've got to decide how we can move forward.
Mm-hmm. I think that's true. We have more in common than we disagree on. That's in general. I mean, for most things, most people agree on we just want to be left alone. We just want to be at peace with each other. Okay, so I made it to the dark world. And one thing that everybody knows the county does is the roads. And that's just, like, we all expect to have roads, I don't know if you know the meme, roads. But, anyway, I like roads. Tell us how the county kind of figures out what roads need work and, like, how do you plan those things?
There are a series of classes that you can take. I have got my Roadmasters and Road Scholar, which took me about 5 years apiece to get because there was so many classes.
What is that?
They're training on how to do roads, what's the best practices, how to set speed limits, how to reduce accidents, signage, snow removal, culverts, concrete versus blacktop versus scrum rubber type roads. We bought software that we could attach to the trucks that are out on the roads that measures any problems or anything, cracks in the roadway and stuff. And that program itself helps us come up with a 5-year plan on what we need to work on next.
Where does the money come from for roads? It's not all taxpayer money, right? I mean, it's all taxpayer money, but it doesn't all come from county taxpayers, right? You do have federal and state funds as well.
That's still taxpayer money, even though it's state and federal. But yeah, we do get reimbursed some from state and federal. And then we have to pull some out of our own coffers in the general budget. Sometimes that comes out of cold severance money. Sometimes it comes out of us just tightening the belt a little more. There's a lot of emergencies that come up that we don't plan for, so we've got to kind of come up with the money to fix those projects.
Do you have teams if there's some kind of emergency and the roads are damaged, let's say there's a flood or something? I mean, how does the county respond to those kinds of things?
We have emergency management, which is run by Nick Bailey, who does and Jesse Breedlove that does a really, really good job. In instances like that, they would probably be first on the scene and make recommendations to us what needs to be done. And you just deal with it one step at a time,
When it
depending on
comes
what the
up.
need is. Of course, we've been through a lot of needs with the ice storm and 2010, 2 tornadoes, 2 floods. We've experienced everything except, and I'm not going to say it, but it ends in quake.
Yeah. Almost everything you can
But
have.
we've had training on that too, so
Well, when we went through like more than your average tornado too. I mean, ours was catastrophic, and I think people that didn't experience that don't realize that it was like a war zone here. I mean, there was no communications, there was no water, there was no gas, there was no electricity, and that was for everybody in town, whether you were affected or not. You couldn't get food here. Thank goodness for all the awesome people, like the food trucks and stuff. When we had food trucks, people were feeding people for free. Charlie, now I keep dying. Will you quit?
you want me to talk more?
That's twice now. We're in the same spot. I forget what I'm supposed to do here. So I'm just kind of following, the map says I should go over to that one temple, but I don't remember being a bunny. I turned into a bunny and now I can't fight anything. None of my other weapons work. I could do this.
Hop over.
Yeah, so we had a bunch of different disasters. We had the big tornado, we had another tornado a couple of years later, and then we had flooding, and we had ice.
When the ice storm came through, and I believe that was 2010, I was chair of the water board here in Dawson. And it was about the first year that I ran for election. And I know during the ice storm, I was up all night at the water plant. We're trying to hook up generators, work the pumps. And by day, I was down at the city hall, and we were passing out food and stuff because nobody could get food. You couldn't buy food. And I know when I ran for office that first year, someone in a debate asked me, what were you doing during the ice storm? And I told the answer that I pretty much told you. But I've thought about it all the years since. Whatever I did, as much as I did, was not enough. And that same attitude carries on through the floods and through the tornado. You did too, 15 hours a day, trying to pick up the pieces and provide services that people couldn't get anywhere else. And each of these events taught us what we had to do to be prepared for.
Yeah.
And we did budget one year, and we had what they called some ARPA money that could be used for public safety. And I got each of our fire departments. I didn't do it alone. I can't do anything alone. There's 8 of us, and we have to at least agree by majority to do it. But everybody was on board, and we had the opportunity to give each of the 14 volunteer fire departments in Hopkins County $100,000. And it was my goal to give them that $100,000 to replace anything that was damaged in the last disasters and be more prepared for the future disasters. And some of the fire departments added on to their fire stations. Some of them had bought trucks, fire trucks. Some had bought brush trucks. Others bought safety equipment, stuff that they did not have the funding for. And so today, because of that, I think that we're better prepared for the next disaster should it happen.
I definitely think we're probably one of the most prepared communities.
I think we led the state because of what we learned and our
Yeah.
willingness to share information, even
On the
up in
fly.
eastern Kentucky with the floods and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say we got back on our feet. It's been 5 years and we're still not on our feet.
Yeah.
But we're working towards it, and we're seeing progress now that we've never seen before. And I think the biggest progress that we've seen was the sense of community coming back. Because the ice storm, and then you had COVID that hit. We forgot about that disaster.
That was a disaster.
That destroyed all sense of community. The community isolated themselves from everyone because they didn't know how bad COVID was or what it could do to us. And that probably destroyed the community more than anything. And then when the other disasters came, we weren't as prepared and united as we had been through the years. Did see, however, this year with the Dawson barbecue, it was probably the best festival, and it's been 77 years, is that what it was?
Yeah, and it was really good too.
That we've seen in 20 or 30 years because
Yeah.
of the number of people and the participation, which gives me hope that the community's coming back.
Would you prefer barbecue and nachos or barbecue sandwich?
I would
that's like
say
an important-
barbecue without bread
Barbecue without bread
and nachos on the side.
and nachos on the side. I really prefer to go with the nachos. You know, just dump the whole sandwich on there, extra toppings, jalapenos. Jalapenos?
Nope.
Do you like them?
Nope.
No? Okay. But we do have a lot of stuff going on here in town. I mean, we've had we've pivoted on a lot of things, like moving events to downtown, like trunk or treat or things like that. But I feel like things are getting a little more normal now. And we have bingo now, and that's something that we didn't have before. I mean, I think, did bingo used to be here in Dawson? There used to be a bingo, and it was really popular.
I
but
think
then
the
it kinda
American
dropped
Legion
off.
of the VFW did some bingo occasionally. But it wasn't on the scale of what the Rotary Club does. Of course, having a Rotary Club has made a big difference in the community
Yeah.
because they just jump in and get involved in everything.
But there's a lot of other organizations in town that are doing a lot of good work. Tabitha, I know the other day, posted a picture of you in the crayon bucket, that little garden over there, just across the street here.
The Tornado Memorial Garden,
Yeah.
Beauty to Ashes.
Tell us about that.
The garden she's talking about is called Beauty to Ashes. It's in memory of the 17 people that were lost during the tornado. And I can't remember the kid's name, but a kid at school wrote a grant at the governor's office and got $3,000 to make a green space here in the middle of Dawson Springs. They did a lot of work at first, and as all things happen, some of the interest has died out a little bit on it. And so Peggy Woodruff and her husband Scott signed a lease with the city that they would maintain that little park. And the city agreed to do it. It's made a really nice green space.
It is really pretty.
It has some benches in it. It has engraved brick with the picture of everyone that was lost in that tornado. You know, I relive that tornado or those tornadoes almost every day. You know, I have flashbacks. Some of the good that we did, some of the things we could have done better. And I knew, being a small community, knew most of those 17 people that died personally. My time over there right now gives me a little bit of time to reflect and be thankful for what I've got and what the community has been built back to. We have a great future. We're not far from seeing the fruit from that future. We just got to keep on plugging along. And I think everybody in the community has started to step up and get involved in the museum. And I know the chambers and the business organizations have really come together. There's one group I want to give a shout out to, and it goes back to the Rotary Club, but they started an Interact program at the school. I'm thinking now they've got how many, 40 people maybe?
Oh, there's definitely over 30. I'm not sure how many kids we have so far, but compared to this, like, the size of our town, it's a big Interact club. And I actually just recently got volunteered to help with the Interact club, so my daughter's in it. I'm trying to get my son to join.
So
Actually, I got voluntold by Tammy Workman that I was going to help, so thanks, Tammy.
I'm sure my name's in there somewhere.
I've got my background check for the school all ready to go.
What is the motto for that Interact Club? Is
I
it
don't even know.
community above self? Does that sound right?
Or service above self?
Service above, maybe it's service above self.
I don't know. I'll learn, I haven't even started yet.
But I've worked 2 or 3 years now with these children. They start in the spring, they clean up Dawson Springs, and we're down here painting lines
Yeah.
and
They moved the benches for downtown from the park because we don't have a park yet. but we're getting a park.
We're gonna lose those benches again here, hopefully in another 6 months, they'll go back to the park where they should be.
Yeah,
Because we think the park will be done. They help clean up in the spring and in the fall. In the fall, their big project is decorating downtown with corn shucks and bales of hays and pumpkins, and these kids work really hard.
one thing we wanted to do with the Interact Club was to do like hay bales that could be decorated. We are looking for somebody who has the smaller square bales that the kids could, or I'm sorry, not the square, the smaller round bales. The smaller round bales that you don't have to have a forklift to pick up.
Right.
So I know where to get the square bales. I know where to get giant round bales. But we want to do something that's manageable for the kids. So maybe somebody will hear this and they'll say, I know where to get little round bales.
And if somebody hears this, I really could use some evergreens over at the Tornado, or the Beauty to Ashes Tornado Memorial Park. We've got a lot of perennials and a lot of rose bushes, but we don't have anything green. And even a 8 or 12-foot artificial Christmas tree would get us through the Christmas season.
Just a regular standard size, maybe a slightly larger Christmas tree.
Now, didn't even have to have that, just the structure.
And I have some decorations we could use.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of possibilities.
I think that's a good idea. So we're looking for some Christmas, some evergreens. Ideally, we'd have evergreens that could just grow and, you know,
Continue
look
to
nice.
grow, yeah.
We lost a lot of trees with that tornado. That was one of the things that I just see it all the time, and it was so kind of shady around different places. Like over at the park, you could find shade and just hang out and not be too hot, and now it's just this wide open.
I worked some with the Forestry Department and the Conservation District, which all donated trees and brought them in. Some of them were saplings, and some of them were trees that were 5 feet tall. But you know, it takes years and years for them to replace what we lost. But it's a start, and it's better than nothing. And I've noticed, I can spot a few of the trees that have been planted in and around Dawson.
I know a couple who brought in a big tree, and they were like, maybe we didn't really have to go through the effort of getting that big tree, but they really wanted to just have a tree because, I mean, it's crazy. You don't know what you got until it's gone.
We've
But
learned to
we've come a
appreciate
long
a whole
way.
lot.
Yeah, we sure have. So, well, I guess we can wrap things up. What I've discovered here is I missed a key item on the last playthrough. I think I was so excited that I beat the last boss on the first try as well. You know, just thinking about it from a purely professional standpoint. Because I really think of you as like Charlie Beshears, my friend, my like silly buddy that I, just love to tease, and you're a good guy. You're always around whenever somebody needs something. Like you were the one that I saw at the data center meeting. I don't know if I saw any other, elected officials that were like interested in whether or not a data center might come to Dawson Springs, but everybody showed up because they were curious. They wanted to make their voices heard. Turns out it was just an informational meeting, and most likely there are no data centers coming to Dawson Springs. And we kind of established that at the meeting for those who weren't there. So what is it about your platform? Like, why should someone in your district vote for you in November?
I would appreciate everybody's vote. I think I've lived a life of service ever since I got out of college. And now, 16 years as magistrate, I've heard some talk about term limits, and I think there is a time for term limits. But I think I have a lot of knowledge that through that 16 years and through the 28 years of working in the court system, that it's going to be hard to replace. There's a lot of rules, regulations, a lot of numbers in the budget and how to stretch a budget real far. I still think we need to work some on workforce development and job promotion. I had written several grants, wrote a grant for the ATV park outside of Barnsley. And in those first couple weekends when it opened, we had like 400 people that come from 8 different states. So it brought a lot of tourism into us.
Yeah.
to
That's
Hopkins
awesome.
County.
It's probably the biggest thing Barnsley has seen, is other than the tornado. You know, I mean, it's just such a small spot.
My goal was, I never could do it then, but I probably could do it now, was to connect that park with an Arlington ATV park, which was only 4 or 5 miles away.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going from 500 acres to 1,000 acres of trails and bringing tourists in. That's more of a reality now since they passed the law where ATVs can get on the roadway if they're licensed.
Yeah.
So now they can can go from one park to the other.
Oh,
Just need to advertise that quite a bit.
I didn't know that was the law.
Yeah.
They changed the law.
Yeah.
Just in Arlington, or was that a statewide thing?
It's up to the cities and it's up to the counties.
So they gave local control over it. They said
Right.
you can decide on the local level. I do like that, and I do
But
like
you have to
riding
have the
four-wheelers for
insurance and-
transportation.
You got to have the insurance, you got to have rear view mirrors, you got to have everything a car has. But yeah, you can
I think
go.
I could live with that.
I think right now you can only go like 17 miles without stopping.
17 miles. So
I know Hopkins County has it. I'm not sure the city of Massillville has it. I'm not sure about Christian County where you live.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to find out. I don't have a four-wheeler, but we did when I was growing up, and I actually got in trouble for driving on the roads on my four-wheeler because we lived down in Christian County on Happy Hollow Road, and you could take trails all the way over to 109, and then over to like 41 towards Crofton. Yeah, and we'll just say that my stepdad was a state trooper, and he heard about it before I got home. So yeah, well, that's good to know. Good to know. But I'm sure you should probably be an adult. I was not an adult. I was a
I think you got to have a driver's license. So I guess
Oh,
now it's
okay.
15 probably. So
Nice. Okay. You know, maybe I would have qualified. I'm not sure. I moved here. I was like a suburbs kid, and then they put me in the county and put me on the four-wheeler in the mud, and I was like, this is great. And I turned into a country girl. It was great. It took a little while, but
So I wrote grants for the ATV park, and that we built it, and then I continued to write grants, which helped us maintain it. The tornado came along and went right through there, not once, but the second tornado went right through it again.
oh,
And it took about $2 million. Luckily, FEMA paid for it to clean up the trails
really?
because of all the damage.
It
and
got
stuff.
damaged in the second tornado.
Well, the first and the second, it went through twice.
Yeah, and the second tornado intersected right at Barnsley. There were people who were affected by the first one who were also affected by the second because they intersected right at Barnsley. And we had done work in Barnsley on both. Some of the houses that we built were damaged, but it was minor, and they were required to have insurance, so they took care of themselves. We were able to help a couple of different people that we didn't help the first time. But I just thought, my goodness, I'd move, I think. Well, so speaking of moving, I can't actually vote for you, Charlie. I live in Christian County, but I do really believe in you as kind of our magistrate. I've sort of adopted Dawson myself. I feel like we live 5 minutes from town. That's where we do our grocery shopping. That's where I get my hair cut. That's where my kids go to school. I feel like if your kids go to school there, that's pretty much your town.
That's your
And
community anyway.
That's my community for sure. I'm from Hopkinsville because I moved here as an Army brat. You were an Army brat too, is that right?
I was.
Yeah. So, well, we have that in common. And, but I moved out here 14 years ago, and I really loved it. And it's a good school. It's a small school. My youngest is going to homeschool. The big kids they love school here. They love Dawson School, and they're not interested in homeschooling at all. Try to get them to quit school and come hang out
You
with
know, it's
me.
really interesting how many military people that have come to Dawson Springs that had no ties here at all, but they visited Dawson Springs while they were on leave, going to Penny Rawls State Park, hiking our trails or canoeing our Blue Way trails, and decided to make home here and have
Really?
even started businesses.
Yeah, that does make sense. I mean, this is the great trail town, and I love Penny Rawls. I live close to Penny Rawls State Park, and that's just I couldn't pick a better spot. I love it. All right, well, I'm going to wrap things up here. I'm going to pause and save my game, and I appreciate you hanging out with me. Next time I get on here, I'm going to start saving the maidens. I didn't do that, but I did defeat the evil wizard Agahnim, and that's a start.
I enjoy coming and glad that you invited me, because one thing that this helps me do is become a little more humble again. It's really hard to talk about what you did, because I never needed the notoriety. I never needed the accolades. I did it for the community, and the only thing I needed was a warm fuzzy feeling when I went home at night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, and I've seen a lot of progress. In 2014, our tax rate was 15% on real estate. As of next Tuesday, it's going to be down to under 4.
I prefer 0,
But
honestly.
I know,
That'd
but
be
then you
mine.
wouldn't have anything else. The other thing we got to do, and I didn't get to mention, was we still have no fee on the convenience center and going to the landfill.
It's
Well, the
still free.
landfill, I think they charge, but if you drop it off the convenience center, we don't charge people for bags like all the counties around us do.
Well, Charlie, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Nice chatting with you. Thanks for helping me. You're my good luck charm. All right, well, should we go get some ice cream?
Sure.
Trusted CBD. Feel your best every single day. Kentucky Hemp Works leads the way.